Hello, 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 and welcome to the Leen Show, episode 29 of the Leen Show. And Kathleen, we now live in a post-Dune 2 world, and we're just going to have to accept it. We're just going to have to live with it, you know? I was about to literally spoil the very end of the movie, which I probably shouldn't do 30 seconds into it. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, we live in a post-Dune 2 world. How do you feel about that?
I'm feeling good. It's March, which is a good month for me because my birthday's in March. We've got March Madness. Gotta get
March
the friend
Madness,
group.
of course.
Yeah.
You're such a big basketball fan.
No, I am. I am when it comes
I'm
to.
sure you can't wait.
And I was trying. I mean, I don't know if you remember. Maybe you do. But we did like a friends bracket last year. I don't even think any money was involved, right? Like I think it was just like a for fun league.
So you think I would forget that in a year? I would just totally memory hole something. A bracket that I ran.
Okay, a bracket that you ran. I wasn't saying I didn't finish my sentence. I wasn't saying like did you forget that we did that. I was gonna see if you remembered who won, because Sam and I were talking about it yesterday. And we were trying to remember. Like I feel like it was like either like one of the girls that just did like the automated bracket where it does it for you, or like picked by colors or like whatever. Do you remember?
You don't remember?
No, I don't. That's what I'm asking you.
Red won because she picked all Florida teams to be in, and it was
Okay.
Florida Atlantic and Miami, and she won.
Okay, Red. That's
Shout
what
out to
I
Julia.
thought. That's what, yeah, shout out to Red. Shout out to Julia Dunn. And I'm pretty sure that's what Sam said, too. For some reason, I remember, like, Will Partington doing pretty well at one point.
Yeah, he had Princeton in the Final Four, and they went to the Sweet 16. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you have a better memory than me. And then I'm pretty sure I did, like, I chose, like, all, like, upsets or whatever. So, like, every single match I chose, like, whoever nobody thought would win, or whoever had like less odds to win, and that was like my bracket. I don't think I did. I might have started off doing well, but I don't think I did well in the overall. But no, it's a good time with your friends. Like we watched a couple games at your house. I remember that.
No, this is fun.
That was fun. But yeah,
So
I mean, post-Dune world.
A post Dune 2 world involves us talking about a March Madness bracket from last year.
Yeah, sorry.
That's the first thing we bring up in a post Dune 2
world. Yeah, no. I mean, honestly, we've both seen it. Lee saw it today. I saw it on Friday. I mean, I absolutely love it. Like, I'm a huge fantasy person. Like, whether it's like sci-fi type of fantasy, like Dune, or it's just like straight, like world building fantasy, like Game of Thrones. And I've been super impressed by both movies. So, I mean, I'm excited to be living in a post Dune 2 world. I'm definitely going to watch it again. Can't wait till it's available on streaming. And super excited for Dune 3, I guess. I mean, I'm imagining that they've got to be already working on it.
I mean, yeah. They've like what? This is all the first book. And there's like 5 of them.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
yes,
and I've
I
read.
would say so.
Like,
I don't think they would hire. So, really quick, sorry. I don't
No,
think
go
they'd
for it.
hire Anya Taylor-Joy to do like a
Right.
10-second cameo, and then be
Yeah.
like, "Well, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Bye, guys."
No, that was really funny. I actually had, and I took a bunch of notes, like, because kind of similar to what we did with, what was it, Friday Night at Freddy's. I took a bunch of notes on my phone, just my thoughts on the film.
Friday Night at Freddy's.
And, yeah, no. So it's so funny because it's like, yes, she had a 10-second cameo, and it's like, her character is essentially a fetus, and it's like, anybody could have played that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, was she, like, clickbait to an extent, where it's like, oh, everybody's got to watch the third movie because Anna Taylor-Joy is in it. Like, I didn't even understand the purpose of showing her for those 10 seconds. Like, why do they need to cast the baby, like, that far ahead? Like, you know what I mean? Like, anybody could have played that character. So it was like, what was the point of even, like, including her in the movie? Like,
because she's one of the main characters in the next one.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I've only read, like, I've only read the first book up till when the first movie ends. So, like, that's all that I've, like, read as far as the series goes. So I have no clue. I had no clue what was going to happen in Dune 2, and I have no clue what's going to happen in Dune 3. Like, I haven't
even read the books, but it's just so obvious. Like, well, because part of the prophecy that and I guess we'll just go ahead and get into it now. And we'll do a little bit of spoiler free. I don't think this will be super spoiler heavy, and then we'll draw a line and then get to the rest of it. I guess the Anya Taylor-Joy thing's kind of a spoiler, whatever. She's in it for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty clearly set up to be I can't say this without spoiling it.
I mean,
Can we circle back to this?
Yeah, we
circle
can, but
back?
also it's like, in my opinion, like, the books are out, so it's like, is it really do we even need to do a spoiler warning? Like, I get, like, some people are, like, only watching the movies for the first time, but still, like, it's public information, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like nobody knows.
Well, like you could say like, oh, Oppenheimer. Well, that's just history. Of course, we know what happens.
True.
And so, kind of, like it how like imagine if you spoiled the end of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then it's like, oh fuck, well that's what happens.
Yeah. No.
Like,
that's very
well,
true.
shit, that's the whole movie. Like, yeah, you could say, like, oh, it's history. You know what happens, but then
No.
they go to the other house.
We can circle back. That's fair.
Okay. I'm just, and again, like I haven't read the books. I'm putting two and two together. That kind of like anyway, we'll circle back to it. I was gonna open this if I had like a chance, like a cold open right when we started talking about it. I would have just been like, which I thought would have been funny. Just like how how insane it is, and like all the production, all the big names, like all the hype, and then just like because there's somebody out there who had that experience.
Yeah.
Whether like there's somebody out there who like watched the whole movie, didn't look at their phone one time, just was in it, and then they walked away like it was okay.
It's funny,
right? And that's it. That's their whole opinion.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
It's just very indifferent. It's funny because Sam was joking before we started recording. He was like, I bet that's going to be Lee's reaction, like exactly what you described. Like, he was like, I bet Lee's going to be like, that was average. But no, I mean, especially just because the reviews have been like overwhelmingly like positive. Like, everybody's been like, yeah, that was absolutely awesome. I mean, the girl in front of me fell asleep towards the end. I'll be honest, like, while I thought it was a very good movie, it was really long, and like we were in an old-fashioned theater. We saw it at the Plaza Theater in Atlanta, which has literally been around since 1939. And so it's like an old, like artsy, like vintage style theater. So it kind of looks like, like the Sanger Theater, like Radio City Music Hall, where like everything is velvet and there's like giant curtains on the walls. They use like is it 60 millimeter or 90 millimeter film? Where it's like they literally
70.
have to like 70, they literally have to like feed it. And so it was, number one, it was extremely dark in there. So having that long of a movie late at night, we saw it at 7:30. We got home at like midnight. I think it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, 2 hours and 50 minutes. I mean, it's a pretty long film. I'll be honest. 2:45. I'll be honest. Until like the final scene, which was very intense, there was a couple of minutes where I myself was like fighting, dozing off, and the girl in front of me was literally like completely asleep, like on her boyfriend's shoulder. But the last thing I was going to say is like right before like the final scene, which I just mentioned is very intense, because it was like the old-fashioned theater, like the film broke like right before the scene. And so the entire screen went like half green and half red for like a couple of minutes, and somebody, that was monitoring it, like had to go back and like, I'm sure replace the whatever it's called, replace the film, I guess, like the old-fashioned like film that they were using. But it was a really, really cool experience, and it was very different. Like, I kind of get why Christopher Nolan is like, oh, if you're going to see my movies, I only want you to see them in these designated theaters. Like, this is how they're supposed to be watched. Like, now that I've been to one of those theaters, I do kind of get it. Like, it was a very different experience. It was really cool.
So this was 70 millimeter IMAX that you saw?
Yeah. I don't know about IMAX, but it was at the...
Well, so Oppenheimer. Well, the big thing about Oppenheimer was it was shot in a format that only, I think, like there's only like 16 or 17 IMAX theaters in the entire country that have full 70 millimeter IMAX capability, and so every other showing of the movie basically was in like a slightly different format than like he shot it in.
Yeah.
But I mean, you would have known if it was IMAX because it would have been like $25, and then the logo would have been everywhere. So if it wasn't, then you'd probably know.
I mean, our tickets were pretty expensive. Like, it was like over $50 for 2 tickets. So I think it was. But it was super, super cool. Like, very, very clear. There was no like fuzziness. It didn't look like it was stretched. Like, sometimes when you go to like an AMC, it looks like the picture is like almost stretched to fit like the giant screen. It wasn't like that at all. It was very, very cool. But like I said, it comes with the downside of at any moment the film can glitch and they have to go in and replace it like while you're watching the movie. And it was right before like the very last like final scene, so it was pretty interesting.
So what did you think of like the performances overall, like just like from the cast? Because like probably I was thinking about it, like this is probably the most stacked cast that a Hollywood movie's had, at least in the last 5 years, probably 5 to 7 years. I was trying to think in the theater of like a more stacked cast. I mean, like maybe like I mean recently, maybe Oppenheimer, maybe Once Upon a Time, maybe like one or two others, but that's really it. Like in terms of just like I mean like Christopher Walken has like 4 scenes.
Yeah.
Right. Again, Anya Taylor-Joy is just in it for like 10 seconds.
Literally
and
10
that's
seconds.
It, right.
Yeah.
You know, what did you think of the performances overall?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that they were really good. I know Austin Butler gets a lot of hate just because, like, you know, I've got to be honest, I can't speak on his Elvis movie because I've never actually seen it. But, like, I know he got a lot of, like, hate coming out of that. Not that he's a bad actor, but just that he was really cringe and, like, him claiming that he was stuck with the Elvis voice forever and it, like, permanently changed his voice. Like, that stuff, I don't really buy into that. But I personally thought that his acting was really, really good. Like, I thought that his character was really, really cool. It wasn't cringe at all. Like, he really, like, did such a good job and really sold, like, the character, which I thought was really cool and I wasn't expecting out of him. One thing I will say, and I don't know if you had this experience, but I'm curious, were people laughing a lot?
Yes.
Okay, that really threw me off. So, like, you also have to keep in mind, and, like, I'm not trying to sound judgmental here. I'm just making a blanket statement. The theater I went to, like I said, was very artsy. And so the crowd was like what you would picture a crowd that exclusively goes to like art theaters to see films.
A lot of fedoras.
Yeah,
flannels.
yeah, exactly. A lot of circular Harry Potter style glasses. Lots of what are they? Not mohawks. Mullets. Lots of mullets. Both on females and males. Anyway, so I was really thrown off by the laughing. Like, I didn't think that Javier, and they were laughing at Javier Bardem's character. Skarsgård, I think is his name. Stalsgar. And I don't know, it threw me off because, like, what's your opinion on this? But, like, I don't think that it was supposed to be funny. Like, I didn't like that people were laughing. Like, people were kind of laughing left and right, and it was just throwing me off. I'm like, guys, this is a serious movie. Like, did you think it was supposed to be taken like that?
I think it was. I do think it was because I think I was gonna mention that that was one of the things I was gonna bring up eventually was like, no, like those were set up as comedic moments. Like the part where like one of the early parts where Paul's talking to all the Fremen and he's like, you know, I'm not a messiah. Like I just want to fight alongside you. And then Bardem is like, see, he's such a messiah that that's how we know he's the messiah because he doesn't even want it. But like. It's comedic timing. It's trying to be comedic. Now, it would almost be weirder if it wasn't comedic, but people were laughing. But I think that's wise. People are conditioned to laugh at I think people are conditioned from especially Marvel movies where I mean, this is just such a staple of whatever AI computer program is writing Marvel movies these days is just the comedic moment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's built in it's so scientific. It's like, okay, in this little 30-second span right here, we're going to have, the superheroes get in a funny argument. Or they'll say he's right behind me, isn't he? Right? One of those, something will go horribly wrong and then they'll be like, well, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
But right?
Right.
It's kind of like that. I was kind of surprised that was in it at all, but I don't think it took away from it. I mean, I think it worked. I'm trying to there's a couple other comedic moments. I can't think of another one. My theater laughed 3 times, probably 3 or 4 times.
Same here. Hang on, let me pull up my notes because I took some more notes on
Which
this.
is almost more of a credit to the movie being you can have this crazy sci-fi world where everything's so intense and it's so barbaric and everything. Mm-hmm. And then you could still have comedic moments that hit, right?
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So that's almost,
The other thing I took note of, and I, again, asking if you agree or disagree, is I feel like they did Zendaya really dirty in this movie. She does not look good. And I would consider her, she is a beautiful actress and model, but she looks like shit in this movie.
She's a warrior. She's a soldier.
I know.
How's she supposed to look good?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the mom, even though the mom is crazy and creepy, Jessica, at least they make her look a little bit pretty. Even Zendaya's friend, was kind of cute, but Zendaya just looks like shit. Like, I don't know.
Well,
I
because
just was like,
she was the Reverend Mother. She's got like cloaks surrounding her
Yeah.
at all times. Like that's
Yeah.
better for your skin, you know.
on that.
Would it not be really quick? Would it not be more insane if Zendaya was like hot as fuck but killing everybody in the middle of the sand with? Would that not be weirder if she like had
I
her hair done
guess.
and had makeup and like looked hot?
I mean,
Wouldn't that be weirder?
I guess, but like I saw a lot of TikToks and memes, like from girls being like, "Oh my gosh, you know, like every like male character in this movie is like a 10 out of 10." Like I saw a lot of funny memes about that, but like it's not that way for the girls necessarily. I mean, obviously, like Florence Pugh looks really good because she's like the emperor's daughter, so she's not like a warrior out there in the sand. But still, like, there's ways to make women, even more women warriors, at least a little bit more attractive.
Sure.
Like I just feel like all I'm saying is I just feel like they did Zendaya a little, like they did Zendaya dirty. You know, like they
No, look, I
could've-
get it. I know, I
even,
get
like,
it. If
what's
you're
her
gonna
name?
have a
Anna Joy, what's her Anna Joy? What? Like even her 10 seconds.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, even her 10 seconds, like she looked killer. You know, and she's not even alive yet. Like,
Well, again, like I think
Fetus.
it's literally like she's not like she's a soldier,
mm-hmm.
and Anya Taylor-Joy is like a royal, like you know, like Chalamet looks like that because he's like royalty, even though he is a
Yeah,
soldier.
that's true.
That's the difference. Is she's nobody. She's
Yeah.
just like a
A desert rat.
Farman. God,
Furman.
Freeman. Fremen. I have a cheat sheet on a Google Doc whenever we fall. Also, you're totally right. All the male characters are 10 out of 10s.
Yeah.
Baron Harkonnen, stud,
Oh my God.
hot.
Dude.
The bald, all white, obese guy who looks like he's never seen
More than
sunlight
obese.
is so in right now. It's so in.
He's more than obese. No, they did such a good job because when you read the description of him, like he is supposed to be like all-time grotesque, like not just fat but just like grotesque, and they did a really really good job
Yeah.
with him. I will say, what's that actor's name? I know he has a last name that's hard to pronounce. Do you know?
The actor who has a last name that's hard to pronounce.
The actor that plays Baron. It's
Oh,
like we
oh,
were
oh,
just
oh,
talking
sorry.
about it. No, you're good. We were just talking about it before we started recording.
Stellan Skarsgård.
Stefan Skarsgård?
Stellan.
Stellan Skarsgård. Okay, that guy like has range because, and you may know this, but not only does he play the Baron in the Dune series, he is in Mamma Mia where he sings. He's one of the dads in Mamma Mia. He's in Good Will Hunting.
Really?
Yes, he's in Good Will Hunting. He's the professor in Good Will
Holy
Hunting,
shit.
like the math professor.
Oh,
He's in
really?
a couple other like famous movies. Yeah, no, like that guy has like range. Like he's done a lot of really good movies, and he freaking killed the Baron character. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I was very impressed with how scary and creepy they made the Harkonnens. Like that shit. Like
Yeah.
every time there was a Harkonnen scene, like the music and everything was just like so on point. It was so like creepy and scary. Like very like when Austin Butler like licks the knife, like that part was like oof, just like
Yeah.
crazy creepy.
You know what it reminded me of too, which is kind of funny how it just comes full circle like this, is I mean, you may or may not know, but Dune, the original Dune book, like the original came out in 1965, I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically like the basis for like modern sci-fi as
True.
it, you know, kind of became popularized. Like if you really like read Dune and just like kind of especially just watch the movies, Star Wars steals so much shit from Dune.
Really?
So much. Well, Tatooine is just this again, cheat sheet, sorry. Arrakis.
Arrakis, yeah.
Tatooine's just Arrakis. There's, you know, the Sandworm is like the Sarlacc pit. You know, the hero story. I mean, Frank Herbert didn't invent the hero story, but it's
Right.
kind of similar. Even like Baron being like this like Darth Vader figure, where
Yeah.
like he's really bald and disfigured, and you know, and
True.
Darth Vader has the mask and like the suit. But you know, like even the part where like he's bowing down to the Emperor is kind of like Palpatine actually being the Emperor of the Empire,
Sure.
and Darth Vader, who you think is like the guy running shit because he's going around force choking, killing people. No, he's actually bowing down to another guy.
Sure.
But the other thing that what was really interesting was like, I don't know if you've seen Force Awakens or Last Jedi recently.
Not recently.
But-
I've seen all the Star Wars movies, but it's been years.
So like the scenes where what's the guy's name in the new trilogy? There's like the big bald guy who Andy Serkis plays, who gets murdered in Last Jedi. You know what I'm talking about? That guy.
Mm-mm. If it's the new
In
series, sorry. If it's the new series, I haven't seen any of those. I haven't seen any of those.
Well, that's what I said.
Oh, my bad. No, I haven't seen any of those. I've only seen the old ones.
Okay, so there's like a. Hold on, I'm just gonna Google this guy's name.
Just look it up. If you just Google like Andy Serkis Star Wars, I'm sure it'll pop up.
Yeah. Okay. Emperor Snoke is the guy's name.
Okay.
And so he's just like this like 20-foot tall, like big white guy, bald white guy, emperor guy. But like the scenes in Force Awakens and Last Jedi where he's like in his chamber and he's like talking to people and it's like really dark and there's like ominous music playing. It is so similar to how Denis shoots the scenes with Baron.
True.
Where he's like soaking in like the dark water tub and there's like minions around and like it's so similar. So it's just kind of interesting how Star Wars originally stole shit from Dune, and then Dune is now kind of coming back around and not stealing, but like
recovering.
Definitely inspired. Like if you took like side by side stills of some of the shots of Baron, especially in this movie, I haven't seen part 1 in a while, but I'm sure I remember like a scene or two where he's like in his chambers talking to people, and like those scenes just look so similar. And I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you want to just go ahead and get into spoilers? Is that it?
Yeah, totally.
See it. All
Sounds
right.
good.
That's okay. You should see it. We're not going to give a number rating to it because that's stupid. Just see the movie and then go from there, and then listen to the rest of the show. Pause now if you haven't seen it, or if you don't care.
Yeah,
because again, Kathleen, you're not wrong. This book came out in 1965. And
yeah, like
the same plot.
Obviously I hate when things are spoiled, but like at the same time, like honestly, it's one of those movies where, in my opinion, it's amazing, but there's so much detail. Like I had to watch the first one. Like it wasn't until the third time watching it where I really felt like, okay, I understand the characters, I understand the world, I understand what's going on. So even if you hear like Lee and I talking about like quote unquote spoilers, I don't think it'll necessarily like spoil a lot of the movie for you because there's just so much detail like to wrap your head around. I mean, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool.
So, I was pretty surprised. Like, okay, so again, going into this, I have not read Dune. I have not read the books. I don't actually know the story. And we will circle back to Anya Taylor-Joy in a second because again, like the plot's out there. But I have a feeling that basically what's going to happen is Paul becomes this, like, god, essentially. This, like, mythical figure who rules over everybody. And then he's going to, he was already starting to kind of turn evil and kind of, like, ever since he drank the water of life, he kind of is, like, going down the, like, evil leader path that he knows. Well, that's the other thing, too, is he knows what's going to happen. He's had visions the whole 2 movies on like, oh yeah, this ends in a holy war where millions of people die. Like I know that and he knows that. So he's just like, well, it's okay, let's go. But Anya Taylor-Joy is probably going to be like the actual savior because they say in the prophecy that it's a woman.
Oh, okay.
Because they say this in the beginning of part 2, but the prophecy that the
Fremen
cheat sheet Fremen. Sorry, I'm doing my best. I promise you, I'm doing my best.
It's a lot of detail.
The prophecy that the Fremens, especially like the Southern fundamentalist Fremens, believe in was so Lady Jessica, who is Timothy's mom, she gives birth to a daughter, and then that daughter gives birth to a daughter. And the granddaughter is the Messiah, is the one that's gonna bring peace to everybody, save everybody. But instead, she had a son, and that's kind of where I would think like the prophet, because like the prophecy is like the whole movie, where it's like he's the Messiah, he's the one, but according to the actual prophecy that it's like anytime he would do something like, oh, just as the prophecy foretold. But it's all kind of a farce because it was supposed to be a woman the whole time. Yeah. So it's like they're kind of just like they're seeing him do a lot of the things that the prophecy called for, and they're like, oh, well, this must be it. All right, let's go. but it's actually just a farce to begin with the whole time because it was supposed to be a woman. And then so that essentially means Anya Taylor-Joy is the actual Messiah.
So
that's kind of what is being said.
Yeah, I definitely like get where you're coming from with that perspective. I think also like what I caught on to, and I don't know if you caught this, but I think it was the scene where he's standing with Paul's standing with his mom Jessica, like alone on the dune, and he says something about like the Bene Gesserits like spreading, because essentially like the Bene Gesserits, which is what Jessica is, it's like the witch women that like have, you know, the powers where they have like the voice, so they can like make people do whatever they do, like want them to do by using the voice, and they like see the future, and they're like these
again. Star Wars stole. Sorry.
Yeah.
Star Wars stole that also. Continue.
Anyway, so what I caught on to was that the Bene Gesserits actually are the ones that are responsible for spreading like that quote unquote prophecy to the Fremen people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you caught this, but like there was one point where, like I said, Jessica and Paul were talking, and Paul was like, I don't remember what the exact line was, but he was like, oh, you know, like, you've been spreading this prophecy to these people, like, what, like, for what, you know, like, I'm not the Messiah, like, I'm not the chosen one, and she was like, oh, to give them hope, and he was like, that's not hope, and he, like, screamed, like, he was like, that's not hope, like, Timothée Chalamet's, like, weird screaming voice that he uses, and so I thought that was interesting. I was going to ask your opinion, like, where I think it's going is, like, the prophecy isn't real at all, and it's literally just like something that the Bene Gesserit spread to control the Fremen people because they have some ulterior like motive in mind. Like I don't know that the Bene Gesserit even believe in the actual prophecy themselves. I think they just want power, and at the end of the day, like power comes from Arrakis, and power comes from being able to be responsible for that world and get the money from the oh my god, what is it? The
spice.
The spice, yeah. And so, like, I almost think that the prophecy was, like, propaganda spread to keep the Fremen people in line. Like, to keep them, like, waiting because they've never, like, lashed out. And, like, obviously they lash out and, like, they kill people that come to the planet and try to, like, harvest spice. Like, they obviously, like, were trying to kill Harkonnens and, like, they were pissed about the Atreides people coming in as well. But, like, I just think that maybe the prophecy is something that, like I said, is propaganda that's used to keep the Fremen people from rising too high. Because, like, at the end of the day, it's like, this is their planet. Like, why can't they just take control of Arrakis and tell everyone else to fuck off, and then they'll become the most powerful people in the world? Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
The whole, yeah. Oh, no, of course I know what you're trying to say. No, that is the point. Yeah, that is exactly what it is. It's like a statement on, like, you know, religion, or it's a statement on, yeah, I mean, this is like Zendaya's whole character arc, essentially. One of her big character arcs is she's like surrounded by, well, so in the world, basically, like, you know, most of the galaxy believes that the southern part of Arrakis is uninhabitable, when in reality there's millions of people living in the sand.
Yeah.
So those are the people that are like really suffering, the people like barely surviving, and those are the people that are also fundamentalists who super strongly believe in the prophecy.
Right.
Which, like, that is the whole point. Is essentially like the houses came together and decided that the people of Arrakis, because they're very crafty fighters, as we see, like, they're very good hand-to-hand combat, like, they're relentless, they're very organized. They just don't have, like, the leader to actually take control of the planet themselves.
Yeah.
And so what a great way to keep them down is to essentially tell them, like, oh no, like, you're just waiting on this one guy to come, and you do create this prophecy. And and I think what, you know, like, it really does almost like really make me want to read the books, because this is all like really well done and interesting, like, because essentially, like, it's a thing where that could be how it started. But what if, like, the prophecy, like, is self-fulfilling, it becomes true,
right,
based on things that happen, even though, like, the origin of the prophecy doesn't really have any, like, actual meaning to it. Well, then also, but, you know, that's where it gets interesting too, is because, like, there are people, I don't know if I forget what, you know, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce whatever the witches are called.
Bene Gesserits.
What are they called?
The Bene Gesserits.
The Bene Gesserits.
Yeah.
Can they see the future?
They claim to be able to through their dreams. Like, they claim to be able to, but I don't think they can really be trusted.
So if they see the future, they could say, sorry to cut you off, but, like,
no,
they could say, like they could see it and then write in the prophecy, but what benefit would that have to them if they see the future and they see Arrakis get liberated? Well, that's not good for them. Like,
Right.
why would they want that?
Right.
So
It's interesting too, like just going back to like you were like, oh, like there's a lot of themes and things that you can recognize in Star Wars. I wonder how much like George R.R. Martin, the guy who created the Game of Thrones world, like I wonder how much he was influenced by Dune too, because when you really think about it, like they're like it's like everybody just copies each other. Like I'm not even joking. Like the Fremen people are like almost remind me exactly of like the Wildlings. You know, like they're like, oh, we're all equal over here. Like we don't need your kings, we don't need your leadership. Like we live in the snow. Like we know how to navigate the snow. And same thing with like the theme. And me and Sam talked about this when we left the movie. Like not to get all like analytical on everybody here, but like if I was in a film class and like I had to write a paper about Dune, like I feel like one of the topics would be like, oh, it's that theme where it's like fate versus what you said earlier, like self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, is it Paul's fate that he really was like meant to do this? And you know what I mean? And there's nothing that he can do to stop what's inevitably going to happen because it's just fate? Or is it a self-fulfilling prophecy where, you know, Paul is just, because the prophecy's out there, Paul thinks that it's supposed to happen. So he's like, like he's fulfilling it. And like, I think people say that. People say that about the Jon Snow stuff. People even say that about Harry Potter. You know what I mean? Like anybody, theoretically, could have killed all of the Horcruxes, killed Harry, and then killed Voldemort. Like it didn't have to be Harry. Like Harry just needed to die in order for Voldemort to be killed. So
yeah,
it's just like it's, and I guess that's not a bad thing. I think that happens just across the board. But I think a lot of fantasy these days probably have taken a lot of themes from Dune, like you said earlier.
I just I don't know if you noticed, I started laughing right when you said George R.R. Martin. I was positive you were about to say George R.R. Martin, you know, the creator of Star Wars.
Oh my
and,
God,
you know, when he was making I was like that close to like, oh my God. Like,
I don't know who. So
okay.
I know J.J. Abrams directed Star Wars, but who is he? Also the creator? I don't know who the creator of Star Wars is.
Oh no.
I mean, that's not something that's that weird for me to not know. What, am I wrong about J.J. Abrams doing the movies?
He did the new movies. It's George Lucas.
Oh, yeah, totally. No, I knew that name. I knew that name.
LucasArts.
No, I knew that name. I mean, sorry, I'm just not, like, I have respect for Star Wars, but I've never been like I said, I've seen all of the old movies once, and the production to me is just unwatchable. Like, I can't, like, I literally can't watch them. The production is just so bad. It throws me off.
Oh, you're an old movies are bad person because they don't look as good as new movies.
No, it's not that. Like, there's some old movies that I've definitely like enjoyed. But no, the Star Wars movies. Ooh, sorry, I just kicked my setup. The Star Wars movies in particular, like I said, like they're just unwatchable to me. They're unwatchable. But no, I brought up George R.R. Martin because, like I said, like I think there's a lot of similar themes in Game of Thrones, and I'm curious if he was like a big Dune person, like if that was something that was like influential.
Everyone
on
is a
work.
big Dune person. Yes, everyone is a big Dune person. It's like the best. It's like the most famous sci-fi novel of all time.
So I wonder.
Everyone is a big Dune person.
Okay, so totally, yeah, I get that it's you know, it's one of the OGs and it's, you know, one of the most popular fantasies, especially now. But like and maybe it was the directors, like who decided like, all right, 2022, 2023, like we're bringing Dune back. Like because they did a really crappy movie a long time ago, right? That just like blew and nobody.
Yes. So, okay. Yeah. So, okay, before I say that, we did circle back to Anya Taylor-Joy, right? I probably said this sentence 7 times today. We did say that, right? She's the Messiah. Yeah. I did say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
Cool. Okay, it's actually this is kind of a side part to the movie itself. Actually, I have the Wikipedia page up. The boring answer to what you said is in November of 2016, Legendary Pictures bought the rights to it and just made a big budget movie. They're like, oh, hey, no one's done this yet. Tapping the well of franchises people know.
Sure.
Like, okay, cool. That's the boring answer. The interesting answer is, and I'm going to give a recommendation to everyone out there. Literally the only association that the only like consumption of anything Dune that I have had before I watched Dune Part 1 was there's a documentary. It's called Jodorowsky's Dune. Jodorowsky. I think is how you pronounce it. Jodorowsky. It's a documentary. It's a great documentary. You should definitely check it out. I think you might have to rent it or something. It's like I think I rented it for like $3 on YouTube like a year or two ago or something. but it's a documentary I heard about years ago, and it's like, I don't know, less than 10 years old. Essentially, the documentary is there's this Italian director who is just out of his mind fucking crazy. This guy's an absolute psycho. And his name was Jodorowsky. That's his last name. I don't remember his first name. But he made like a bunch of like weird art house movies. And basically, and this was in like the early 70s, he had this crazy idea for a Dune movie. And because he loved Dune, like the books were like still coming out at this point, but I think like the first well, Dune, the first Dune came out in 65, and Herbert wrote Dunes into the 80s. There's like 7 or 8 Dune books.
But you said there's more coming out? There's more Dune books coming out?
No, at the time Jodorowsky was making.
Got it.
It was like the early mid 70s. He was conceptualizing his Dune movie. The books were still coming out. The story wasn't done.
Got it.
You know, it's been a year or two since I saw it, but essentially, like, he's still alive. He's like super old now, but it's him describing what his Dune movie would have been, because it never got made. Because essentially, like, it's I don't know if he says this or if somebody else says it in the documentary, but it's like it's the most unmakeable movie of all time. Like it would be literally, like, his ideas were so crazy, it would be literally impossible to make his movie the way he wanted to make it. But it got probably a year or so into production, and the really interesting thing is it's probably, like, you know, talk about the cast now that this movie has. This would have been not even close just for directing, producing, the music, the cast. It would have been the most star-studded movie of all time. Not even close. H.R. Geiger, who's one of the most famous movie magic art. That's such a bad way of saying it. He designed the Xenomorph and the Predator. Okay. H.R. Geiger is a really famous horror artist. He would have been in charge of making all the designs for like the Harkonnen planet, all this stuff. This is off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember the whole cast. Mick Jagger was going to play Paul.
Oh, wow. That'd be crazy.
Pink Floyd was going to do the soundtrack.
Damn.
George Orwell, I think, was going to play Baron. I think that's right.
Wow.
George Orwell was going to play Baron. Or maybe it was... Well, the other big one is Picasso was going to be in it. Pablo Picasso was like signed to be in it. And I think he might have played Baron, actually. I can't exactly... Orwell seems like he would, because he's just like a big fat guy.
Yeah.
But Picasso would have had... I can't remember exactly, but Picasso was going to be in the movie, because there's like a scene in the documentary where Jodorowsky meets with Picasso, and he's like, you have to be in this movie. I want you in this movie. And Picasso's like, okay, I'll do it, but I want $100,000 for every scene I'm in.
Oh my God.
That's what he asked for. Yeah.
Damn.
Well, basically it's like a fuck you, being like, I don't want to do this shit.
Yeah. Like,
but Jodorowsky was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So that's one of the reasons why it's so unmakeable. And basically the documentary is him going through Jodorowsky. He has like a scrapbook of like all of the art, the script, all the concept art and everything from his Dune movie that he would have made in, again, it was the early mid 70s, and it never got made. He pitched it a million times to studios. No one ever wanted to touch it because it was just so impossible. Like, the budget would have been like, you know, it would be like infinite money. It would have been literally impossible to make the movie, essentially. Yeah, like the way, because it was so weird. Like, I think Jodorowsky had an exact quote. I think this is like in the trailer of the documentary if you just want to watch that or something. But he says, like, he wanted the movie to feel like you were on acid while you were watching it.
Oh.
Because it was very psychedelic. That's why Pink Floyd did the soundtrack.
True.
Is because, like, you know, the way he envisioned the Dune world, like with spice and Arrakis and everything, essentially, like, he wanted to create a world that felt like you were on acid while you watched the movie, is
very
what he
interesting.
said. And, you know, his movies that he actually did make are, like, out there, insane, crazy. So, like, just imagine. And those were, like, a lot of them were, like, little low-budget, like, art house movies. So he kind of had, like, a cult following, which is, like, how he got into, like, the circles to be able to, like, talk to Mick Jagger and Pink Floyd and, you know, Picasso and all that stuff. But it's really, I mean, I probably just spoiled, like, half of it. But it's a super interesting documentary, especially if you're into Dune. If you like read the books and you're familiar with it, it's a super cool documentary. And it's just like one of those like crazy what ifs. Like if that movie existed, it would be like one of the most famous movies of all time.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It would have defined a generation. It would have probably like Mick Jagger maybe would have been like an actor, because I don't think he's ever really acted in anything. He would have been like an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, like Pink, just like being able to say Pink Floyd did your soundtrack, to have Picasso in your movie, to have maybe the most famous horror artist of all time doing all of the designs for your characters. Just one of those what ifs.
Totally.
And it's a really interesting documentary. So check that out.
Yeah, I will.
And that's the history essentially. And then, and really quick, the other thing is, yes, basically David, like maybe 10 years later in like the mid 80s, David Lynch made a Dune movie that sucked ass and everyone hated it.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And now I kind of, just because I'm curious, I want to see if that one's on anything, because now that I've seen the two, I want to go back, even though I know that it's bad and I've heard bad reviews. Like, part of me still wants to watch it. So you brought up something that like made me think of another point that I'm surprised I didn't think of earlier, but just about like the director you were talking about earlier, that the budget for the movie would have literally, like, to do it right back then, like the budget for the movie would have just been like impossible to gather. Yeah. Like I really want to look into, and maybe they don't have anything released, but like it would be cool to see like behind the scenes of like how they film this, because you have to think like a lot of this has to be CGI, right? Like a lot of this has to be CGI, a lot of it has to be green screen, but like I want to know like how much of it was filmed like in outdoor spaces, like when they're actually like in the sand, are they in like one of those giant warehouses just like filled with sand and green screen? Like, you know what I mean? Like it would be very cool to see like some behind the scenes, because what I think that shows is truly how good like actors like Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya and Josh Brolin, right? Doesn't he play Gurney? Like it really shows like how talented they are to be able to like react and act like there's a fucking giant sandworm, when like, you know what I mean? Like it, like you're basically like staring at a green screen. And like, I'm sure you all have seen like those types of like behind the scenes where, you see someone standing on a fake mountain and a fake set, and like, they're staring at a dragon, like in Game of Thrones, that like isn't actually there. Or even worse, they're staring at someone in like a green suit with ping pong balls taped to them, like acting like a fucking dragon, So I would just be curious what, like where was this filmed? What was the location? Was it complete CGI? Was it complete green screen? Or were there any parts where like they actually had, boots on the ground filming outdoors? Because I think that would tell a lot about the talent people have, and being able to create like these fake things and make them look so realistic, and also like how talented the actors are to be able to like just pretend like something is there when it's not, Like I don't know how
I tell you what, they did it, one of the great non-CGI shots of this movie was whenever they filmed all of Christopher Walken's scenes in his backyard at his mansion. All of his scenes, like where he's just like in like LA or something, right? Yeah. He's just like, there's just like greenery and sun. It's like, this is a fucking sci-fi movie. You're just like filming it like outside on a nice Sunday afternoon, and everyone's like still in their the scene where he like reads the scroll, right? To see that like, oh, Paul's still alive. I mean, that's literally like his pickleball court in his backyard. Right. And they're just like, all right, take down the nets. All right, see, it's a beautiful day outside. The crew, like he probably lives in the hills somewhere, right? Yeah. Like, get all the camera equipment up, like, the spiral driveway, make sure the gate's open, get the whole crew in here. And then all these actors are like, okay, now I have to pretend that like we're in this like post-apocalyptic sci-fi world where like war's about to break out. But, like, we're just, like, in California on a nice day in the sun. Yeah. And we're like, oh, guys, the Harkonnens and Paul and whatever. And it's just like, I wonder if you look around, you're just, like, at someone's house.
I wonder if that was, so like they, because I was going to ask you how you felt about Christopher Walken being the Emperor. I thought it was kind of a miscast. Like, I don't know why, and maybe it's just, like, the things that I've seen Christopher Walken in. I don't take him seriously 9 times out of 10. Like, I don't know why, but maybe it's just his character in Hairspray, honestly, has, like, always just been burned into my brain that, like, he did Hairspray and he played John Travolta dressed as a woman's wife, her husband. Like, John Travolta is literally dressed, is straight up cross-dressing in that movie, and Christopher Walken plays, like, the husband that's, like super into her. Anyway, part of what I'm about to say is, one, keep this in the back of your mind, do you agree or disagree that Christopher Walken was maybe a little bit of a miscast, and do you wish it would have been someone else? And then 2, maybe that was part of like his agreement. Like he was like, all right, I'll be in 5 scenes in this movie, but you got to come to my backyard and film. Like I'm not
4 of them have to be in my backyard.
Like,
he was
literally...
in. He was in 2 location shots that weren't essentially just like a house, either his house or a house in his neighborhood.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not leaving Bel Air. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, guys, I've got a garden in my backyard. Why don't we just shoot back there? I don't want to go. That was
terrible, Christopher Walken.
Not my best. I
gotta pick. I can't do it either. I'm not even gonna try. And then answer my first question.
I gotta. Paul, you gotta stop the Harkonnens. Terrible.
So bad.
Okay. So the last Christopher Walken movie, it's actually not a hard one. That's why everyone does it, but I'm just really bad at it. It's actually not a hard one, but
Harkonnens are in my
I loved
yard.
Paul. I can do like one words. I can't do like a sentence.
I can't either.
Paul. So the last Christopher Walken movie I've seen, like just most recently in my life, is Balls of Fury.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that one.
A movie where he also plays an emperor.
Yeah.
And that was my first immediate thought, was like, wow, this is weird. I mean, good for you, I guess. Like 17 years ago, you're playing an emperor in a comedy movie starring George Lopez about ping pong, and now you're starring as the emperor in like maybe the most famous sci-fi franchise of all time.
Sure.
That's a step up. I mean, not that he really needed a step up. I mean, it's Christopher Walken. Like,
right.
It's almost like, and I don't know if it was a miscast. It was fine. It's like, if you're rating that casting 1 to 10, it was like a 6. It didn't ruin the movie. It was fine.
No, it didn't ruin the movie, but like for some reason he didn't fit in to me. Like, I don't know, when I saw that because I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't know who the entire cast was before going, so I wasn't like sitting in the movie being like, when's Christopher Walken gonna come out? Like I wasn't, I knew Florence Pugh was in it, and that's about it. But when I saw like his first scene as the Emperor, it didn't hit for me. I was like, really, Christopher Walken? We couldn't have found somebody. Like, I don't know. I feel like even with like, you have someone like Austin Butler, but they really did a good job with his hair and makeup. Like, he really became, it wasn't Austin Butler. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't the Elvis.
Terrifying.
Yeah, he looks terrifying. But with Christopher Walken, like, no, they just put him in a muumuu and were like, hey, like, like, act like the Emperor. And he just, I don't know. It didn't hit for me. I wish it would have been someone else. I couldn't tell you who I wish it would have been. Anthony Hopkins, maybe. But then again, like,
oh yes, Kathleen,
that's
exactly what I was thinking. Yes. Okay, that was my second thought. Was yes, Anthony Hopkins would have killed it. Yeah. I also Brian Cox.
Who's Brian Cox? Let me look him up. I'll probably recognize his face, so don't get mad. Brian Cox.
Jesus Christ, you'll. Okay,
oh yeah, I love it. I fucking love it. That is my favorite. Like, damn, I wish Succession was still on. That is my favorite, like, meme from that. I love it down here. I fucking love it. And I think that's a pretty good impression.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that is pretty good.
Brian Cox also would have been good. Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins probably would have been better. Because I just think to his role in season 1 of Westworld, like how fucking good he was in Westworld, that I think he would have been a terrifying emperor. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Because it is like a little. I guess that's true. Like, having a guy like Christopher Walken be like the ultimate emperor guy is kind of strange, because like Baron is so like, he's like
scary.
The fat cat, right?
Yeah.
He's scary, but he's like, the big fat cat who, like, he's so powerful he doesn't really have to do anything himself. He gets other people to do everything for him.
Right.
And then it is kind of weird to see him like out of his little weird anti-gravity ball or whatever, and then actually like kneeling to Christopher Walken.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck did Christopher Walken do to be like, oh, actually, fuck you. I rule you and everybody else. Well, like, what the fuck did he do?
Yeah, and like,
to get that role.
And in the first movie, like, they build the Emperor up so much, like he's supposed to be like this big, scary, dangerous guy, and like maybe that was intentional, having Christopher Walken just be more so like beta in like movie 2, and like it's all a facade, like kind of like the Wizard and the Wizard of Oz, where it's like it turns out like he's, it's just
True,
some
yeah.
guy kind of faking it. Like, I don't know if that was the point.
Yeah.
But like I said, it just didn't fit. Like, I was expecting someone scarier, creepier, more hardcore. But again, like, maybe I just made a good point. Like, maybe that's the point. That's a great point. Is like the Emperor is kind of just a figurehead. He's a Biden. Like, he's just an old guy up there with people
we're getting
whispering
political
in his
on
ear.
here?
No, am I joking? Not really, but anyways.
No, I think that is a really good point. Is like, wouldn't it be kind of weird, the scene at the end where he kisses Paul's ring?
Right.
Wouldn't that be kind of weird if that was Brian Cox or Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah.
Because like if the Emperor was truly like this all powerful, like you can't even imagine the power this guy has, then like why would he fold so quickly?
Yeah, he wouldn't submit. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It was a very like submissive.
He would rather
ending.
die than do that.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Also, I'm like, I didn't really understand the whole like you can marry my daughter. Like, was that just so Paul can become the Emperor? Like, I didn't get the point of that. Like, was it a gift? Was it a political alliance? Like, what was the point of just throwing Florence Pugh in there?
Well, part of the prophecy is Paul marry like the whatever Liz starts with an L. It's not lesbian, but something like that.
The Azor Al Gahib, yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Part of the prophecy is I think they say this at the beginning, that he marries the Emperor's, that someone empowers daughter.
Okay, I think I missed
that. That's
that.
what it is.
True.
I believe that's right. So Zendaya doesn't have a connection to royalty.
Yeah.
And so even though they like fall in love whenever Paul, is like pre-Water of Life Paul, where his mind gets fucking open, man.
Right.
It gets so open, and he like really sees like what's going on in the world.
His third eye. Yeah, well, and Sam said that in the book that Zendaya is like there was the one major difference between the book and this movie with Dune 2 is that in the book Zendaya is like all for it. Like, she doesn't care. She's like, yeah, marry the Emperor's daughter. Like, I want power. Like, you know what I mean? But like, of course, in the movie, she sort of stomps off and is like, I'm not kneeling to you, and then she stomps away. Yeah. And then apparently also in the book they like have a kid together, like Paul and Shauna is her name, I think. Shawnee. Paul and Shawnee have a kid together, and like I said, she doesn't really care about the marriage to Florence Pugh. Like, she's like, whatever. Because like back in that day too, it was like normal to have like a concubine. Like, that's like what they talk about in the first movie, in the first book, is like Jessica, Paul's mom, the Bene Gesserit, was Leto Atreides' like concubine that he just like treated really well, but like never married. And, like, she had Paul. Like, she was never, like, she was treated like royalty, but she was never really, like, royalty. Like, she didn't actually have, like, power. Like, she was just, like, his Bene Gesserit concubine, basically.
Right.
So.
Cool. Well, we've been going for a little under an hour, I think. I think it's probably a good Dune 2. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. It's been a while since we, like I said, I think the
Dune 2
last
chicks
thing.
At the same time.
The last thing we reviewed was Friday Nights at Freddy's, which was a very different type of review. Because Dune 2 was actually a phenomenal movie. Like, truly, I can't wait to watch it again. Like, I seriously cannot wait to watch it again. Friday Night at Freddy's, I wouldn't say it was... Five Nights at Freddy's, I wouldn't say it was phenomenal. I would say it was the opposite of phenomenal. But it was equally as fun to watch that one. So, I don't know what we should review next.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can rack our minds together and figure out something interesting to do a watch along for. Well, if you've gotten this far, you either really don't care about the movie or you've already seen it. So there's not really a reason to say go see it again. Even if you did listen to the whole thing and you haven't seen it yet, you should still see it.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It'll be, if you don't have a great home theater setup, because that's where we watched the first one, which is at my house, because I actually have it in,
you have
not
a big
me
TV.
Personally, but we have an insane theater setup. We do. And so like it was like the whole house was like vibrating and like the scenes where the ships were landing and like it was crazy. But
whatever like Harkonnen language, it's like that shit is
it's like the mouth noises.
Creepy. It's so freaking creepy. And thank you for reminding me. I forgot. You're so right. The first time,
like that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time we watched it, was at your house. I forgot about that. And then I saw it like 2 other times. So, about to do the same.
Yeah. So So go check it out. You should definitely. Well, the point I was getting to with that was, if you don't really have like a very good like home setup for movies, go see it in theaters.
Yeah.
If not, like it'll be streaming pretty soon. Like don't watch this on your phone with
No.
your speaker out loud.
No.
It's not really. You're not really gonna get the full experience. That's what I'd say. But it'll be playing for a while, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll be like on streaming and it'll still be in theaters in like a couple months. So, go see it. I think it's killing it in the box office.
Yeah,
right now.
I think
they already made their budget back.
I think it's like, is it 92% on Rotten Tomatoes? It's in the 90s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sure it'll get Oscar noms. I'm sure Christopher Walken's gonna win Best Supporting Actor.
God, I hope not.
Paul.
No, Josh Brolin needs to
alive.
win it. Oh, the last thing I'll say, and then we can stop talking about it, but I thought it was cool. I don't know if you picked up on this, but if you remember from the first movie when Josh Brolin, like Gurney, is training Paul, and they're like getting after it, like in the training room, and Paul's like, I have you, and he like has the knife up to Josh Brolin's neck, and Josh Brolin's like, no, I have you. And like as like Paul is holding the knife to Josh Brolin's neck.
Really?
Josh Brolin
That's the movie pulls on him. Yeah.
Yes, and then if you notice, it comes full circle, and that's how he kills Baron, Austin Butler's character. Is like he has a knife up to his throat, but then he has it in his side. So just a sweet
cool.
little full circle moment. So anyway, I hope if there is Best Supporting Actor, it needs to be Austin Butler. Or would Austin Butler even be considered a supporting actor, or was he in it for enough to be main character?
I think so.
So anyway,
no, not
him
main
or
character.
Josh Brolin, I would say would be the good nominees.
He's not even in it for the first like hour and a half, 2 hours.
He's not. He's definitely towards the end. But he killed it, honestly. He really killed it.
Yeah, no, he did. And I'm very glad you said that because this transitions very well to how we're ending this episode.
Cool.
I'm surprised I've kept it on my side this long.
Okay.
And God, what a time for my mic to just fuck up and totally ruin this.
What?
I'm checking my levels right now. So I don't know if I've told you this story or not, but
Okay.
this is a great story. This is one of my favorite stories. It involves Austin Butler.
Okay.
And so hold on. I could have set this up better, but it's fine. So in 2007, I was 8 years old. My dad travels a lot for work. And so one of the things that I got to experience as a kid that was really cool was every summer we'd like go along with him on one of the places he'd go to work. And so like one year we went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. That was awesome. One year we went to New York. One year we went to Chicago. We went to Miami one year.
I have a feeling I know where this is going, but I don't. So I'm already laughing.
Well, because I might have told you this story. I don't remember.
Okay, no, I'm not. So far, I don't remember. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. So, for, like growing up, I got to see a lot of the country, and that was really cool. And one of the places we went in 2007 was we went to California. We went to San Diego and LA. We spent about, if I remember right, maybe about a little over a week there. Okay. Went to San Diego, went to SeaWorld before we knew about Shamu. I'm sorry.
Right.
I participated in the massacres. Maybe I played a part. I'm sorry. Just give me a pass. I was 8 years old. We did brunch with Shamu. It was like a breakfast buffet, and there was like a giant. It was like in this. This is totally not related to what I was saying, but there's like a giant like room, and then there was like plexiglass in front of all of it, and then it was just Shamu swimming around, and it was breakfast with Shamu. And so we did that. And we drove. I think we rented a car and drove from San Diego to LA. So we spent about 2-3 days in LA. And this is kind of a privileged take, but I'm just saying. One of the days we were there, we had lunch at the Polo Lounge in the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Okay.
And if you ever get the opportunity to do that, you have to. It is mind-blowing. The food's incredible. That's not really the point though. It's lunch. It'll probably be a pretty expensive lunch relative to like what you'd get most other places. But it's truly like it's an insane experience. Like going to the hotel, there's valet parking. You get there. There's like 3-4 restaurants inside of there. There's like a little like breakfast diner, I think.
Nice.
And then there's like a fine dining restaurant. But the Polo Lounge it's like a lunch dinner spot, like an outdoor restaurant in the hotel. We get there, and I'm not going to say all the details about this story because it might incriminate some other celebrities.
Okay.
But I'll tell you after we stop.
Okay.
And so it was me, my mom, my older brother, and my dad, and we got reservations and we ate lunch at the Polo Lounge. I had a Caesar salad and cheeseburger and fries.
Okay.
They were great. Probably the best fries I've ever had in my life. And we see a bunch of celebrities. We see Jessica Alba was there. The BET Hip Hop Awards were going on there, so we saw T.I. We saw Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Okay.
We saw one or two others. But as everyone's looking around being like, "Oh, that's her. Oh, that's him. I know these celebrities." This is 2007, keep in mind. I look at one table and I see I see a face I recognize. And I'm like, "How the fuck?" And I'm 8 years old. I'm like, "Who the fuck is that? How the fuck do I recognize that?" Right? And I see this guy and he's like with his parents, and he's like, wearing like a polo shirt, like, clean cut, whatever. Clearly, like, this is a place you go if you're trying to make it, and you like make an appearance and you network.
Yeah.
That's probably what was happening here. And I look, I'm like, God, that guy looks so familiar. And then I end up like going to the bathroom at one point, and he's in the bathroom with me. Like, I see him leaving, and I get like a really close look at him, and I'm like, that guy's in Zoe 101.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, that guy's in fucking and also he was in iCarly.
Yeah, he was in both.
This guy, he was in like one episode. I think he played like one of Carly's boyfriends or something. I don't even remember.
Yeah,
a guy
he
had a
plays
crush
Zoe's
on
boyfriend
or something.
too. He plays Zoe's boyfriend too.
Yeah. So he got typecasted as like a children's entertainment boyfriend in 2007. Who was that boy I saw?
Austin, our boy, Mr. Austin Butler. I can't remember
Austin
his
fucking
character's
Butler.
name in Zoe 101, but that's so funny because that would have been how I would have recognized him too. I'd been like, oh, it's, God, what's his name? Is it Paul? I swear if it's also Paul in Zoe 101.
I think it might be.
I think it is Paul. That's what I'm picturing his face, his curly blonde hair, his pink polo with a popped collar.
His name is James.
James. Okay, I was way off. James.
Yeah.
What a great show.
His name was. Yeah, great show. He was in 10 episodes of Zoe 101 in 2007.
So did you talk to him? Did you talk to him, or was it just like a?
No. No, I just saw. It's just a crazy story because like, I mean, Austin Butler's been acting somewhat consistently for the last 17 years.
Yeah.
But like, it would like, I mean, I'm on his IMDb page right now. When he like, if you go through, he's in like a bunch of bullshit basically until. Well, okay, he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I think that's when... I don't remember
who he played, though.
I don't remember either. But I think that's when it kind of clicked for me, where I saw him in that movie, and I'm like, holy shit, that's the guy who I recognize in Zoe 101. And now he's like a huge star, so it's just even more crazy.
No, it's cool.
But it's just funny just being a dumb kid sometimes, just being like, you're surrounded by like actually famous people, and then you look and see like, oh, that guy's in fucking Zoe 101.
Yeah.
That's funny. Like, I know that guy because that's all I watched was like Nickelodeon. So like, that's what I was tuned in on. And then, it turns out 17 years later, he's more famous than all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Than all the people that were surrounded by cameras and paparazzi trying to be famous, or who were actually famous, I mean. And he was there just trying to be famous. He's like, let me get a little bit of that. And then now 17 years later, he's Elvis.
Yeah, no, I know, he's a huge star. No, that's very cool. Very cool.
Just
full
funny
circle
story.
Moment. Love that.
Funny how it works out. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. For listening on Spotify, please consider giving us a 5-star review. And thank you to Glazed Eyes for letting us use their single Way Down as our intro-outro song off their LP that's out now. Check them out on Spotify. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Leen Show. And I think that's it. Kathleen, any final thoughts?
Nope, that's it. If you haven't seen Dune, go see it. If you want us to review something else, let us know.
Absolutely. All right, play us out, Glazed Eyes. Y'all have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.